We turn now to a High Court judgment without precedent as far as we are aware. Released this afternoon from the High Court in Rotorua, Justice Al-Sadafi has overturned a drink driving conviction in the District Court because police repeatedly refused to let the appellant go to the toilet, despite a series of increasingly desperate requests and the availability of a toilet in a petrol station and a police station nearby. Finally, the appellant soiled himself, an act described as humiliating by the court. Now, it was a low-level drink driving offence and a first offence. The District Court sentence was an $800 fine with no disqualification. Justice Duffy effectively found the violation of the appellant's right to dignity was greater than the offence itself. Alistair Hackett was the appellant's lawyer.
He was given the standard roadside test, so the breath screening test, which showed an indicative positive result, a failed result, and then he's required to accompany back to the booze bus nearby for the purpose of evidential breath test, blood test or both. At that very early point, still at the roadside, he advises the officer that he needed to use a bathroom urgently, and the officer's response was to the effect that this process wouldn't take long, but as it turned out, the process actually took about 85 minutes from go to woe.
And your client kept asking during that time to be able to use the bathroom and was really insistent that the need was urgent.
Yeah, so he repeated that it was urgent. He was pacing up and down the booze bus. He experienced pain trying to hold his bowels. And he was asked by one female officer if he was okay because he appeared to be unwell. So there were lots of signs that he was in urgent need of using a bathroom, but they weren't acted on at all.
And finally, it's dinner time, so we won't go into this in great detail, but finally he was just unable to hold it any longer.
That's right. So that was shortly before the nurse arrived to take a blood sample on the booze bus. There's a number of officers on the booze bus at that point. When my client was asked to do the blood test, the nurse asked him to sit, and he apologised and said that he was unable to sit because he'd made a mess in his trousers, and the nurse proceeded to take the blood from him while he was standing. After that, the process was finished. The officer dealing with him by that point was aware that there had been an accident, but nothing was done to help him. He was left to walk down the road by himself.
So he had repeatedly asked to use the toilet. There was a toilet available for him to use. He was denied the opportunity to use it. He was clearly unwell and in some discomfort, and in the end he defecated in his pants.
Correct, yep.
Right. The Justice Duffy decision in the appeal you took says basically that this was not reasonable or dignified treatment of your client, and therefore his appeal is set aside.
That's right. Well, the conviction was set aside.
Sorry, yeah, the conviction was set aside.
Mm.
And the conviction was set aside because the violation of his right to a dignified, decent and reasonable treatment was actually greater than the offence.
Right, yeah. So there were two rights that the High Court found to be breached. One was the right to be treated with dignity during a detention, and the second was the right to be free from unreasonable search. So the High Court also found that the manner of search, i.e. the manner of taking the breath and blood samples, was unreasonable and breach of the Bill of Rights there as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at number 87 in the decision, Justice Duffy's decision, the appellant's right to privacy and dignity. And so now, what Justice Duffy says all the way through, this is a first offence, and the blood alcohol or the breath alcohol level was relatively low. So your client was only just over the limit. So this is not a precedent per se. If you were charged with something much more serious, this wouldn't be happening. But it is a message to the police that you need to treat people with dignity in these circumstances.
Right, absolutely. And in my experience, I do hundreds of traffic cases, other types of cases, and I have to say that I come across, it's not uncommon for me to come across cases where the police have mistreated people. I've done similar road transport type cases where through the process clients have experienced broken bones at the hands of or during the process. So
how's that happened? Sorry, can you elaborate on that for me?
Well, I probably won't at the moment, John, on that particular one. But what I'm saying is that it's not altogether uncommon for police to mistreat motorists during this process. And my read on it is that the police have an expectation, or they seem to think that they're going to get away with it. And that's one of the reasons that this particular case here was taken on appeal. I can tell you that my client wouldn't have gone on appeal if it wasn't for the way he felt about how he had been treated.
And how did he feel about how he'd been treated?
Oh, well, he was outraged and very upset about it. And the reason that he wanted to push forward and appeal the decision was that he felt that this sort of mistreatment could happen to anybody, not just to him. And that's why he took the appeal. It wasn't about ducking a conviction or anything like that. It was about, the decision being put right.
Because the police were losing nothing by allowing him the opportunity to use the toilet, right? There was a toilet available. He wasn't going to somehow avoid or evade justice or giving a breath or blood sample by using the toilet. None of that was going to change. So it just seemed... Well, let's go back to Justice Duffy herself on point 88. An effective and credible system of justice would not countenance the breaches which have occurred here and not let them go unanswered and without remedy. So she is speaking directly to the police there and saying, don't do this.
That's right. That's right. And I must say, obviously it went through a district court hearing and the district court judge came to a different outcome in terms of what a credible system of justice required, and Justice Duffy has differed with the learned district court judge on that point.
Alistair Hackett, who was acting for the successful appellant in this case, absolutely fascinating High Court decision. Clearly, none of us have ever seen anything like it.